Hello, my name is Kyril Gavrilik, and this is my first YouTube video. I have my beautiful girlfriend in the back helping me film this.
Hello.
I am working on setting up a physical home lab right now, and I bought some upgraded processors for my Dell PowerEdge T710 server. So I'm going to be installing the upgraded processors today, as well as upgraded RAM, and just kind of telling you guys a bit about my story and how I got here. So I do not actually have an anti-static bracelet, so I will plug the power supply into power, and I will make sure to frequently touch bare metal on the server chassis. So without further ado, I'm gonna plug this guy in here into my 1100 watt power supply. I was not expecting it to turn on right away, so bear with me whilst I figure out how to turn this thing off. So my girlfriend paused it there briefly, but I just held down the old power button for about 10 seconds and just powered right off. So now with it turned off but still plugged in, we can continue working here. So I'm using my mom's ironing board here, which I've been using for years to work on my personal computer, and it's held up well so far, but I will admit this server here is pretty hefty. So I'm hoping it lasts us through this upgrade here, but if all fails, I'm hoping my reflexes are quick enough to catch this thing. So I'm just gonna put it on its backside here. Okay. Just like that, very carefully. Please don't break. Okay, so we're gonna take off the side cover here. A little bit about me. I'm a cybersecurity graduate, and I currently do tech support at an MSP, which I've been doing for about 3 years now. What got me interested in cybersecurity is, let me find a place to put the side cover. I'm just gonna put it right here. I think I saw a YouTube video when I was in elementary school. And in this YouTube video, this guy, he was staying at a hotel room, and right outside his window, there was this loud concert going on. And he was trying to get some sleep, but with this concert going on, he couldn't get any sleep. So he used his laptop, which was running Kali Linux, to remotely connect to this concert somehow and shut down the music so he can get some sleep. And I thought that was really cool, how he can use that computer to remotely affect other computers and make changes. And from there, I installed Kali Linux on my laptop at the time as my host operating system. And a funny story about that, as I take out, I'm going to start with taking out the... Okay, so this server, it has 2 processor sockets. I'm going to start by taking off the aluminum heat sinks on both of these processors whilst I continue my story. So a funny story about Kali Linux is back in the day when I was in elementary school going into middle school, is I played a lot of Minecraft on that laptop that I was telling you about earlier. And that laptop from the factory, I believe, ran Windows 8.1, and it didn't run Minecraft very well. It ran, but I was maybe getting like 15 frames. But once I made the swap to Kali Linux, Minecraft ran a lot better. And I couldn't tell you at the time, but now that I'm a little bit more experienced, I can tell you that it's because Linux is a lot less resource intensive. So more resources were able to go to Minecraft, and thus I was able to get higher frames running Kali Linux playing Minecraft. And I used Kali Linux as my host operating system on that laptop for, I mean, probably 5+ years, kind of as I grew up from elementary school, going into middle school, and then even going into into high school. And then eventually I gave my girlfriend that same laptop, which I then reinstalled the host operating system on so she could do schoolwork. But that's kind of what got me interested in cybersecurity. So when it became time to go to college, cybersecurity just felt like the most natural choice to study further. So that's a little bit about me. I am now going to take out these processors here and swap in these upgraded processors, which I don't remember the exact model off the top of my head, but I will let you know once I get these cut open. And I'm actually going to double back a little bit and start off by cleaning these aluminum heat sinks. And the way I'm going to do that is with good old-fashioned isopropyl alcohol. And I use this stuff for everything. I mean, I use this stuff to clean my entire room, you know, from table surfaces to monitors. Like, I love this stuff. So I'm going to take this, put a little bit on a paper towel, and clean off this old thermal paste and replace it with some new thermal paste, which I forgot to bring, but we will cut this video soon and I'll bring it. But for now, we're just going to roll through it. So I'm going to take off, we'll just do 2 sheets of paper towels, just so I have a little extra padding. I like to make it into little squares. So I'm going to fold it a couple of times to make it a more manageable size. I'm going to take my isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to dab a little bit here on this paper towel. And this stuff is really good at removing thermal paste. So I'm going to cover up the isopropyl alcohol so I don't spill it. And the server is doing some blinking there on the NIC, it looks like, but we're just going to ignore that for now. And I'm just going to wipe off this thermal paste, probably away from the server, to the best of my abilities. And you can see it somewhat easily comes off, although I may need to use a few paper towels and do this a couple of times to get it fully off. Just because I'm a little bit of a clean freak. So we're just gonna take that off to the best of our abilities. And you can see it gets the paper towels dirty pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna fold it back so I have a new sheet. And then that same motion, I'm just gonna repeat a couple of times until I can get that surface as clean as possible for the fresh coat of thermal paste, so it has the best contact with the processors for the best cooling. So I'm just going to go to town here, give it a good clean. Okay, that looks probably as good as I can get it. I'm now going to do the same thing on the second heatsink. Now, the reason I ended up buying this server was because initially I was planning on setting up a lab virtually on my host operating system of Windows 11 running VMware. And my idea for my home lab was to have Security Onion running as my monitoring operating system, guest operating system, and then having a Windows 11 victim machine send logs to that Security Onion Elastic Elk stack in order to set up alerts for, I was going to use Atomic Red Team on the Windows 11 VM to generate alerts to the Elk stack, and I was just going to try to make custom alerts to detect the Atomic Red Team malicious actions on that victim machine. So I quickly ran into the problem of Security Onion. The production version of Security Onion is very resource intensive. It needs 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I ran into the issue that although my home PC, it's a gaming PC that I set up myself, it's pretty powerful. It has 32 gigabytes of RAM. But with me running a Type 2 hypervisor VMware on top of Windows, I just when I ran Security Onion and my Windows 11 VM, all of my RAM was eaten up by Security Onion, and it just wasn't very optimal. So I saw on Facebook Marketplace this good deal, and I picked it up. And this will be much better for a home lab situation, because on this I could run a type 1 hypervisor like Proxmox, which will eliminate the overhead that Windows 11 steals from me, because a host operating system like Windows 11, it typically reserves a set amount of RAM in order to run the host operating system. So if we remove the host operating system, all of those resources can instead go to the VMs, which is a lot more power efficient and allows you to use your resources, more of your resources, for what you want to do, which in my case is running virtual machines. My plan for this virtual machine, or this server, is very similar to my original plan, but now that I have much more computing power thanks to my upgraded processors and upgraded RAM, my ambitions have grown, and I'm now thinking of setting up a honey net and probably utilizing Security Onion because I still want to mess with the elk stack, but I also want to experiment with Waza, the seam. So I think initially I'll start with Security Onion and then just send logs to Waza and just experiment with different solutions to kind of see how they all work, their differences, their pros, their cons, and just learn different tools so I can become a better professional. Okay, so this is the second heatsink, cleaned pretty well. I'm going to set that down to the side. Okay, I actually see a little bit there on the side, so I'm going to try to get that off to the best of my abilities. Okay, looks pretty decent to me. Okay, now I think this will be a longer video just because I don't have much editing experience, so I think for my first couple of videos there will probably just be rough cuts and stops until we get to the end. But I'm excited to make videos just because I do a lot when it comes to self-studying, but I haven't been very great about actually showing the world what I do in my self-study, you know, with my home labs and my independent studying. You know, I've made like LinkedIn posts, but I haven't actually like made a blog or a YouTube page. So I'm trying to make a difference here and actually show the world what I do in my free time. Okay, so with the heat sinks clean now, I'm gonna touch some bare metal here to ground myself. That's probably good enough. And I'm gonna take out each individual processor now and clean off the thermal paste off the top of the processor, so it's a clean surface for the thermal paste to go on. We're gonna take off the little clip there, lift it up, and we're gonna lift up the first processor. I also do not remember what model this is, but I'll let you know once I can actually see it, once I remove that thermal paste. So we're gonna set this down to the side for now. Once I find a decent surface to put this on, we're just gonna use that temporarily, some plastic. Okay, I'm gonna get a fresh sheet of paper towels. When I told my boss that I was setting up a home lab, he actually very generously donated a router to me, which I now plan to use in my home lab to do IoT security research, where I plan to use a managed switch that I also picked up from Facebook Marketplace to create a segmented Wi-Fi network where I will solely connect an IoT device and then monitor the packets from that network and just kind of see what that device is doing. You know, is it reaching out to any servers out there in the world? I'm just gonna kind of see what it does and experiment from there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the first processor that I took out here. And I'm going to begin cleaning off the thermal paste. Okay guys, so I actually did not need to clean off these old processors because I forgot that I'm upgrading them. But it's good that I cleaned these off because I can actually show you what was in here before. And in here before was the Intel Xeon E5606, which I believe is a 4-core processor with 4 threads, but do not quote me on that. So I'm going to take out the old processors and put them to the side. So there's the first one. I'm just going to put it back on that plastic fan. Take out the second one. Oops. Was that the... Okay. We're going to take off... I'm hearing some noises here from this ironing board, so I'm hoping it doesn't give way. But we're going to take out the second processor.
I just scooted my foot.
Oh, okay. That was my girlfriend maybe scooting her foot, but...
I scooted on this thing.
No worries. So out goes the second processor. Oops. Some gunk fell on the board there, but I'll clean that up later. So we have the 2 processors here out of the system. And in goes in the 2 new processors once I get them out of this plastic wrapping that they came in from eBay. Now the cool thing about working with an old server like this one here is that replacement parts for them are super cheap. So I was actually able to buy these upgraded processors off of eBay for 20 bucks for the pair.
Wow.
Which is awesome. As well as the DDR3 RAM.
Run to eBay, guys.
So I'm just gonna use this knife here to somewhat carefully take out these processors. Okay. And let's see what we're working with here. So they came well packaged here, individually kind of sealed like this, which is nice. Let's take out the first one so I can remember what I bought. I believe these are 6-core, 12-thread processors, which with the pair of them sounds pretty freaking awesome and will be great for my Proxmox server that I plan on using this for. So if I can just rip the tape there, we'll take one out so you can see what we're working with. And it comes in this, I'm assuming, anti-static little plastic thing. I'm just gonna ground myself real quick and take out one of these guys to show you. All right. So out comes one. Intel Xeon X5675. 2 of them. Before I slot this into the socket, I'm going to wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol, just because I do not know where these came from, and I want to make sure that they're clean before I put them into my system. So, once again, fresh sheet of paper. Actually, I'm just going to reuse what I currently have. So, we're going to take an old one. We're going to flip it around to a fresh side. Some more isopropyl. Can't go wrong with isopropyl. We're going to grab the first processor. I'm grabbing it by the sides carefully, not touching any of the metal connectors, at least trying not to touch them. We're going to carefully wipe down the surface of the processor. And this is where the thermal paste is going to go. So wiping that guy off there. That's probably good enough. All right, so we're going to take the new processor and align the triangle here on the corner of this processor with the triangle on the motherboard of this Dell motherboard of the socket to ensure that it goes in properly and in the correct side. You can see on the motherboard there's a triangle to indicate that that's where you line up the triangle on the processor. So we're going to kind of hover it over the socket and carefully drop it in there. Give it a little wiggle to make sure it's secure. And now we could put the cover down and clamp it in place like so. And it looks like that cover had quite a bit of thermal paste on there. let me see if I can clean that up. So we will be right back with that cleaned up. Okay guys, we're back with both of the processors, the new processors in the system now. I opted to not clean off the little clamp that goes onto the socket just because I didn't want to risk old thermal paste falling into the socket. But that thermal paste there on the side is not actually going to affect performance just because it's not on the processor at all. It's out of the way. So I went and grabbed some old MX4 thermal paste that I had lying around. This is the 2019 edition, but I think it will still be good. And I'm going to put a little bit onto both the processors, remembering that with thermal paste, less is more. So I'm going to try my best to get a pea-sized amount of this onto both of the processors. Haven't actually used this thermal paste in who knows how many years, so hopefully it still comes out. Let me just try to take off this cap here. There it goes. Sweet. I'm going to set that down somewhere. And let's see if I still got it. So, a little pea-sized amount there on the center. Trying to ease the... There it goes. That's perfect. Now we're going to repeat that on the second processor. I think that will be more than enough. Just gonna dap off the excess there. Okay. Gonna put the lid cap back on there. And let's get these heat sinks back on the processors. So I was actually able to reuse the original heat sinks that were on the old processors because these new processors have the same wattage rating, 95 watts, as the old processors, which means they need the same cooling capacity, so I could just reuse the same heatsink. So I will put the heatsink back, trying to remember how this went the first time, just so I don't mess up my thermal paste application. I think it went something like this. No, maybe like, well, definitely not like that. Was it like this? That looks promising. So we're gonna, actually no, maybe the other way. Like this. Oh, I see what happened here. My little strap fell down, so obviously I can't put it there. We're gonna try to hold that up this time. And slot this into place, like so. It is now, the heatsink is now resting on top of the processor, and I will clamp it down with these two side clamps. There's the first side, and there's the second side. And now that heatsink is sitting securely on top of the new processor. I really like working on the server because everything is, well, it's easy to work on. I mean, to take off the heatsink, it's just two little side clamps, and then it just pops right out. So I'm going to repeat that process for the second processor here with the second heatsink. Just dropping it in there and putting down the side clamps. There's the first side, and here comes the second side, just like that. And now both heatsinks are securely in place. The next thing I'm going to put in here is my upgraded RAM, which I have 12 sticks of 16 gigabytes of DDR3 server RAM running at 1333 megahertz. So this will be a huge upgrade for what's currently in here. As you can see, we have some sparse sticks kind of just spread out for each processor. And this will fill out those slots a lot more. I'm very excited about this RAM. This will be amazing for the Proxmox server I'm planning on using this for. So we're going to take out the old RAM by releasing the side clips, just like so. And then simply lifting up from the sides the old RAM, and I will set it down right there for the time being, temporarily. Okay. And then from the other processor, same process. It's a little tight in there, but we'll make it work. Looks like the old RAM was Samsung, which is nice because the new RAM I bought is also Samsung. So we've got some dusty RAM sticks right there. Check this out. The amount of dust on the server. When I first bought the server, I actually got a balloon. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's like a blue balloon, like a machine that fills up balloons. And I just used that to just blast this entire server of all the dust that was in here. And it was coated in dust. So it's looking a lot cleaner now. We're gonna take the new RAM sticks. I'm gonna open up the packaging.
Very nice packaging.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised at how well packaged these were. I bought these from eBay, and they came in this nice packaging here with little slots for each RAM stick. Very nice packaging. I'm gonna take off the lid here, just like that, and set it down temporarily. I'm gonna once again ground myself. Now I'm gonna reference the plastic airflow shroud, is I believe the official term for this cover. I'm gonna reference this to see the order of the RAM sticks. So it looks like A1 is the top one, and then B1 is the top one for the second processor. Or actually, no, I said corrected. B1 is the bottom for the second processor. So for my configuration, I need to fill in A1 through A6 and B1 through B6, leaving the remainders blank. So I will now, keeping this at my side for reference, fill in that configuration, starting with A1. So we'll take one of these sticks. Doesn't really matter which one. Here's the new sticks here. Very exciting. And we will slot that into A1 to begin. We're just gonna line it up with, that's the wrong way there. You wanna line up with the RAM, you wanna line up this little notch here with the notch in the RAM socket. You can see that little plastic notch there. You want to ensure it's lined up. Drop the RAM in there and just evenly from both sides press down until you hear a, bless you, a click from both sides. So you can see both sides clicked and they're now back in the starting position. We will now repeat that process for the remainder of the RAM sockets. All right guys, we're back and I have all the new RAM sticks in their proper slots, A1 through 6 on this side for whichever processor it connects to, and then B1 through 6 on this side for whichever processor it connects to. You can see it kind of follows a staggered approach here. They say in the manual that you should insert your RAM sticks into these white slots first, starting from A1 and B1, which in this case is, this is A1 here at the top, and this is B1 here at the bottom. And then just kind of fill it out from there, depending on what configuration you want to do. But for my configuration, for me to use the 192 gigabytes of RAM that I have here, this is what is recommended. So I will roll with that. I had to take out the fans here, and then the fan plastic shroud, just because it was a tight fit over here for the B side of the RAM. So I will put that back in. Here I set it down. So here's that fan shroud, and there's a little guide here that inserts into the chassis right here. So I'm just going to line that up and let it slide down and then click into place right there. Now the fans, I'm going to have the airflow. I want the airflow going outside of the case because we want the hot air to leave the case and not go into the case. So we will make sure that all the fans are pointed outwards. And then it's very easy to put these fans back in. They just go into the shroud and then you press them down and they give you a little click. Very satisfying. And we'll put the remainder of the 4 fans back into place. And then we will finish up with putting back the plastic airflow shroud on top of the RAM and on top of the 2 processors. And that just kind of slides down on top of them. And I notice you have to kind of wiggle it a little bit for it to click into place. Come on, is it already clicked in? It might have already been clicked in. Let's see if I can get this to go back on there. Just like that. And then for some reason, doesn't seem to want to click in right here. There it goes. Had to kind of move the fan shroud a little bit, but it is now clicked in there. You can see right there. And now we have the 2 upgraded processors. We have my 12 new upgraded RAM sticks. And that is the gist of the upgrade at this moment. I am still waiting for a storage controller for Proxmox. So stay tuned to see if this fires up and for further updates on my home lab. Thank you for watching and have a good day.
Bye.